In this world, we celebrate people's birthdays but not books. This fame belongs to Gita alone. Even though this is a small book, it has an excellent reputation.
The Gita was not just a book but a divine sermon delivered by God himself nearly 5,000 years ago. Lord Krishna's proclamation in the Gita echoes. The one who preached, listened, and wrote the Gita is none other than Narayana himself.
Many people ask, is it possible to preach on the battlefield? How can anyone do so? Impossibility may exist for us, but is there anything impossible for God? If so, how can he ever become God?
Attachment leads to bondage, and bondage leads to fear. How can God possess any bondage or fear? If Krishna had any attachment to his nephew Abhimanyu, would he have allowed Abhimanyu to die? It was because he was unattached that he became God.
Mahatma Gandhi said, Bhagavad Gita has filled up the void created by the loss of my mother.
Sri Gyaneshwar said, you may convert the whole world to gold, or transform all the salt water in the sea into fresh water, but you can never understand the Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Tilak said, as Hanuman somersaulted from one end of the sea to the other end to reach Lanka, even I jumped over the chapters of the Gita but was never able to understand its depth.
Sri Madhvacharya said, it was initially Bharata only, but since it contained Bhagavad Gita, it became Mahabharata.
Sri Malayala Swami said, Gita comes into the hands of those whose fate is good.
Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, without becoming a Tyagi, one cannot understand the Gita.
Piling up all the valuable diamonds of the world in one place constitutes the Bhagavad Gita.
The good in Bhagavad Gita is equivalent to goodness constituted by compiling all the good people's hearts in one place.
Gita may contain things that don't exist in the world, but those that don't exist in Gita cannot be found in the world.
You might gain merit if you read 18 chapters of the Gita, but if you understand and practice the same, you will get jnana.
When the flood of ego ruins our lives, how do we have any place for Gita within our hearts? Therefore, despite reading Gita, we cannot understand it. Isn't it true that Gita shares its heart only when we surrender ourselves to it?
I take the courage to say that Arjuna did not get jnana just by listening to Krishna's Gita. Arjuna implies a white man with a pure heart. Krishna said, O Arjuna, you are Anasuya, the one who is devoid of jealousy. Hence, I am preaching to you the Gita. Jealousy is the foremost bad quality amongst all of us.
Arjuna's shoka or grief became his yoga or path. But why does our shoka or grief lead us to roga or disease? It is because Arjuna grieved for the sake of society, and we grieve only for selfishness. My dear friends, Arjuna's merit is that God himself became his guru.
At the beginning of Vibhuti Yoga, the Lord said, I reside in the heart of all, shining as the self. All the further sayings in Vibhuti Yoga are only for body-minded people like us to understand.
The Lord said in Gita, work but don't expect any result, but he never said, I will not give you the fruit of your deeds. God is consecrated in the hearts of those who work without any expectation. What else is achievable in this world than this?
The Lord said, O Arjuna, none can overcome my Maya. I am revealed only to those I select. Why? Maya is in God's hands, and we are in Maya's clutches. Therefore, Maya shows the path only to those who take refuge at God's feet.
My dear friends, Lord Krishna promised in the 9th chapter, self-knowledge will reveal the self here and now. Why don't you believe the same? Also, God repeatedly said, leave all your duties, surrender unto me. I will cleanse you of all your sins and liberate you. Why don't you trust his words?
We cannot get jnana until we have a collaboration of God's grace, Guru's grace, Scripture's grace, and an appropriate time.
In Gita, the Lord preached, Karma Yoga is for those who always want to work, Bhakti Yoga is for those who get emotional very easily, and Jnana Yoga is for those who always try to find a reason behind everything. As Bhagavan Ramana preached, the goal of all these yogas is to know oneself.
The Lord said, Kama or desire, Krodha or anger, and Lobha or misery are the 3 big gateways to hell.
In Gita, the Lord said, only the Jnani attains my Swarupa or the self. There is nothing equivalent to Jnana in this world. People doing good do not attain a distressing state. All the people are puppets in my hands.
In Gita, God narrates all the qualities of a sthita prajna, a person with steadfast wisdom, and all the Daivi guna, or divine attributes. Further, he says that nothing is meaner than the timidity of the heart.
Lord Krishna also said, this world is temporary and is the residence of all sorrow. He never said, this world is a temple. He said, the body takes birth and dies, but not the self, and you are that self. But are we considering ourselves as the self, or the body?
My dear friends, we can never understand Gita as long as we perceive Krishna as a mere body. God and Gita are not different. God said in Gita, people consider themselves to be the body and also limit me to a body. By doing so, they are insulting me.
As we clear the dirt on our faces using a mirror, we must cleanse the impurities of our minds by relying upon Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the Upadesha Granda, or a book of authority, and it is beneficial for purifying the mind. If we abide by the teachings in Gita, our weaknesses and sins disappear automatically.
God asked us to love, remember, and believe him. But what will he gain by saying this? My dear friends, he spoke thus only out of love and grace. He further promised that even the greatest sinner would be liberated by him if the sinner had unwavering faith in his existence.
My dear friends, only the work is in your hands, not the result. The result is in the hands of God. Therefore, if you do your duty selflessly and faithfully, God will give you the appropriate result.
God is always thankful and not thankless. Friends, do believe my words. The work done with doership binds you, and work done without doership releases you.
If you wholeheartedly love Krishna, shining as self within your heart, he will purify you and grant liberation. What we need to pay him is bhakti or devotion, and what he gives in return is mukti or liberation. What else is achievable in this world than this?
Trusting God is equivalent to treasure, otherwise, it is comparable to dust. He who possesses God as his friend will attain him. But you possess worldly people as your friends and not God. God prescribed certain activities as forbidden, for they result in sorrow. Can't you abide by his words spoken in your welfare?
God is the embodiment of love. The love showered by your wife, husband, children, or relatives is not even 1 percentile of the love showered by God.
Lastly, let me quote that even Gita constitutes a Veda. The Gita consists of God's words. Who among us can speak about God? We will not understand him if he doesn't talk about himself.
Therefore, the Lord spoke about himself out of love for us, killing his self-respect. Why? Because, until and unless we understand his greatness, we cannot love and respect him. Further, loveless hearts are like godless temples.
Vasudeva Swami himself proclaimed that Gita is his residence. The Lord exists in the form of Akshara, or letters, within Gita. Akshara also implies that which is not perishable, the self. It is a sin to distinguish between Gita and the Lord. Gita is not different from the Lord.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambattvamanusandaddhami Bhagavad-gite Bhavadveshini. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnah Prajvalito Jnanamayah Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikaparnaye Jnanamutraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha. Sarvopanishado Gavo Dugdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavairana Nadi Kaivartakah Keshavaha Parasharya Vachah Saroja Mamalang Gitartha Gandhotkatam नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनषट्पतैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतस्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपतक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः इति ध्यायामि